I'm Catherine Chevalier. I'm in charge of the Prince Albert Fund within the King Baudouin Foundation, and I'll give you a brief explanation on how we work and on the process of the fund. The agenda of tonight is to have 15 minutes of presentations, where I hope I will answer most of your questions. Then we'll have the pleasure to welcome two alumni who will specify and explain you what they have done during their project. We have Maxime, who was in Japan, and Pauline, who was in Peru, who will tell you all about their project. And then I will ask all the alumni in the room, because about 20 people were so kind as to come here tonight to meet with you and to answer your questions, so they all come here on stage. And they'll tell you for which company they have been to which country, so that you can identify them, and if you have specific questions you can go to them after the presentation. Then we have a Q&A session where I hope we'll answer all your questions, and then of course we'll have drinks and you'll have the opportunity to network and meet with the alumni in the room. Maybe before we start, a word about PAF. I guess you have understood already that this nice acronym stands for Prince Albert Fund. It's not the most elegant one, but it's very efficient, so you'll hear us talk a lot about PAF tonight. So to make sure everybody understands what we're talking about the Prince Albert Fund. And maybe before we start, I'm interested to hear who has heard about the Prince Albert Fund before? Quite a lot. Who has a friend who is left through the fund? Has heard about it through their friends? Yeah? Great. Who has heard about us through social networks? We're trying to be active on Facebook, LinkedIn. Ooh, that's not very efficient from what I can see. Okay, thank you. So, a brief word about the origin of the fund. We exist for more than 30 years. We were created in '84, as you can read, and it was at the occasion of the 50th birthday of His Royal Highness Prince Albert, and it was a joint effort from the Federation of Belgian Enterprises and the King Baudouin Foundation, who wanted to thank him for all the work he had done to promote Belgian export. So that's how we started. And actually, it's quite funny, but we have the first generation of two PAFers already. Last year, a young man graduated whose father had done PAF 30 years before. So we have one double generation of PAFers among the alumni. The mission of the fund has remained the same since the very beginning, and it's to offer young talent the opportunity to grow and to develop their career at an international level early on in their career. The idea is really to give you a boost and make sure that you can acquire international experience early on. And of course, the Federation of Belgian Enterprises also has the objective of helping Belgian companies to grow thanks to the young talented individuals who leave for Belgian companies. So what is it? I guess you all have heard about the 25,000 euros of grant that you will receive if you manage to get through the whole selection process. But what is it for? The idea is that you would pursue a business development project that will last 1 year. Of course, you can stay for the company longer, and many PAF candidates stay longer with the companies, but your PAF project will last 1 year, not more, not less. It has to be outside Europe, and it has to be for a Belgian company. So those are the basic criteria for a PAF project. So what's the ideal candidate according to the PAF criteria? You need to be Belgian or have EU citizenship with a close link to Belgium. You can have studied, work, or lived here. It doesn't matter. You need to be young as well, 30 or younger. That's an important criteria. You need to have a master's degree. I know we receive every year requests from candidates who only have a bachelor degree, and up to now the steering committee has decided that we stick to a master's degree, so that's a request. You need, of course, to have a keen interest in business. We're talking business development. You will be working for a Belgian company, but you don't need to have a master's degree in business. I mean, we have all kinds of candidates applying to the fund. As long as you have an interest in business, it's fine. We have regularly architects willing to do the fund and who have done it actually, but of course not to become an architect somewhere in Singapore or in Asia. Asia, but to work for a Belgian company where their architectural background is an asset. So all degrees are welcome as long as you want to work in business. You need to have at least 2 to 3 years of professional experience. We really expect the companies to give challenging projects to our young candidates. So we believe they need to have some prior background and experience in business. 2 to 3 years means that you need to have started working, if you are planning to apply this year, last summer 2017, which means that by December 2019, where you will eventually start your project, you would have about 2 years of experience. So, of course, if you have more experience, you're welcome to apply, but that's the minimum we expect. Of course, fluent in English. I'm not going to explain you that international business language is English, so it's important to be at ease. The whole selection process is in English as well, so the interviews you will have, the file that you will have to fill in, everything is in English, and we expect you to be at ease in English. And then, of course, all the characteristics, and we'll get back to that, to be open-minded, to be flexible, to be entrepreneurial. Those are very important assets for us as well. So, what's an ideal candidate? I'll give you a few examples of candidates who are actually in the process of finishing their project or just finished them. They were selected in March last year. That's Andres. Andres left for Barco in San Francisco. He actually finished his project about a month ago, and he will stay in San Francisco for Barco, and he was really pleased with his project. Vitaline, she's at the other end of the world in Australia, having a lot of fun. She's still in the middle of her project. She will end it in January this year. She's so excited about Australia. I'm not sure she will get back, but she really did great work for Unilin. Peter Jan, different sector. Peter Jan was in New York for Le Pain Quotidien. He's still there actually. He finished his project as well, I think a few weeks ago. And he had a tremendous time at Le Pain Quotidien, taking care of the whole supply chain reorganization for the US. Catherine, totally different project. She was in South Africa for LC Packaging, and they're selling big bags in the mining industry. So you wouldn't guess that from her, but she was really active in Central Africa and in the mines, and then did an amazing job there actually, and she will as well stay with the company because it all went well. Lisa, again, different country, different person, different company. She was for Greenyard in India, had a great time as well. Will stay with Greenyard and is moving to California for them in the coming weeks. And then Laurent, another great success story of last year, is in New York for Unifly. Unifly is a Belgian software company specializing in drones, apparently one of the best in the world, and he's been setting up the company in the US, and he will stay in the US permanently with Unifly as well. So that's just to give you a flavor of recent candidates, recent projects, recent destination, recent companies, and I hope that's enough of a teaser so that you will want to pursue. What are our selection criteria? The first one, obviously, is your personality, and that's the first thing that the jury is looking at when they will interview you and when they will read through your files. What they expect is driven persons, entrepreneurial persons, open-minded, curious, willing to roll up your sleeves. As you know, a lot of projects are quite challenging. You might leave on your own for a company in a new country, new destination. So it's really important to be entrepreneurial-minded, to be flexible, to be able to adapt to a new culture. That's, of course, very important. And well linked to that, of course, maturity is important, the capacity to take a little distance and then be able to cope with sometimes challenging situations are very important. Second, what the jury will try to assess is your past achievements. I mean, how good have you been in what you've been doing in the past? It doesn't need to be only academic, of course. It's as well what you've done with your professional life, what you've done in your private life. All aspects are taken into consideration. Of course, as I said before, you need to demonstrate a keen interest to work in business, especially if you haven't been active in business before or have not studied in that direction, because as we already discussed, it's all about business. Your motivation is of course key. I mean, how much do you want this? How important is this for you? Are you going to take the grant if you're offered the grant? Those are important aspects as well that the jury is trying to assess when they interview you, as well as what's going to be the impact of the grant on your career, and what will you give back to society after you have done your gap year. Those are all important criteria and things that the jury members look at when they interview you. So what's the application process? It's actually a three-step process. The first process is what you can do right now, is apply. I don't know if you have been on the website already, but if you go on the Prince Albert website, you should find a link to the King Baudouin Foundation, because you have to hand in your file in the system of the King Baudouin Foundation. You need to apply by January 16th. Really note that down, because no exceptions are made. Every year we receive people like coming on the 17th saying, oh, my computer was stuck, I got a problem, I was stuck in traffic, whatever. We're very sorry, but we're not taking that into consideration. So really make sure you have sent your application and do not wait for the last minute. If you have been through the file as well, you'll see that it's quite a challenging project and quite a challenging questionnaire, so do not wait until the last minute to fill it in, and take your time, because that's really your first entry step into the system, is applying properly. Then the second step is a pre-selection. All the files that answer the criteria that we've discussed before will be read by 4 members of the jury. So again, if you do not correspond, it's not the right word, to the criteria that we said before, do not apply. I mean, your file will not be sent to the jury members if you do not have your master's degree, you're older than 30, and all the things we said before. So do not lose your time, because your file will not be looked at. But if you correspond to the criteria, your file will be read by 4 jury members, and they will assess you on 6 criteria that are very clearly mentioned, and we do a lot of work to make sure that the jury members assess the candidates properly, and they will really take the time to read through your files, read your CV as well. So please, another tip, send in your CV in the format that we ask for. I mean, it makes their life much easier, and they'll give more attention to your CV if they know where to find information. I know it's very tempting to send in a very creative CV and you hope to stand out, but it's actually the reverse that happens. So make their life easy. They're all benevolent, they put a lot of time in it, so make their life easy and make sure that the information is found wherever they expect to find it. That's why we asked you to fill in the CV in the template we provided. And so once all the candidates have been looked at by 4 jury members, they will send the course to us, and we will rank all the candidacies, and the 75 who got the highest marks will be invited for interview. The very frustrating aspect at this stage is that we cannot give feedback to rejected candidates. We're very sorry about that, but we don't get proper feedback that we believe has some added value for you. So at that stage, you will only know whether you'll go further to the interviews or if your application has not been received at this stage. And then the third step is the jury, of course. It will take place on March 22nd. It's a Friday. We again make no exception to that, so if you cannot make it for any reason in March this year, 22nd, 2019, do not apply, because we're not making exceptions to that. Every year we have people saying, oh, I'm based in China, can I Skype, can I this? No, we're very sorry, but the jury comes together, it's a big group, they come together on that day, and all candidates are assessed the same way on that day. So note it in your agenda if you are planning to apply. This year we have up to 30 grants available, so it's a very good year, it's a lucky year, so try your chance, because we had less grants in the past, so it was more challenging. This year we have more grants available, which doesn't mean that we're going to throw them away, but it should be a little easier. If you're invited for interviews, you will know about 2 weeks before, so somewhere first week of March, you'll be invited for the interviews and you'll receive a time slot. We ask you, if possible, to stick to that time slot unless you have a very good reason. If you're flying in the morning or whatever, let us know. But it's a huge puzzle to make sure that everybody gets the proper slot. So if you can stick to it, it would be great. And then what happens on the day of the interview, you'll have a business case to go through. You'll receive an hour to read through the case, analyze it, and answer the questions that will be given at the end of the case. Again, the idea is not to favor engineers or make sure that you do a lot of number crunching, so don't be afraid if you're not haven't been a consultant for the last years. The idea is really not that. It's just to assess how you reason, how you look at the problem, how you analyze a situation when you're faced with something new, with something unexpected. That is what the jury members try to look at. So when you'll be faced, because you'll have 1 hour to prepare, and then you'll go in the room with the jury members. Each jury has 6 to 7 members. We put a lot of energy in making sure that we balance each jury group to make sure that everybody gets the same process and the process is really fair for everyone. So don't be afraid if you go to jury 1, 2, or 3. There's not one jury that is better than another. You should be treated in exactly the same way in all the different groups. And the good news there is that if you are unlucky and do not get the grant, you'll have real proper feedback. And we put a lot of energy in asking all the jury members after they have seen each candidate to really provide constructive feedback, because we want everybody to learn from it. Either you're lucky and you get the grant, or you're unlucky, but at least you will have learned something and you will get real feedback on the reasons why the jury did not select you, and you can improve and eventually apply the year after. Would you be interested to do so? If you're selected, a few more dates that you have to keep in mind. We organize a leadership training. It's very valued by the companies, by the candidates who have taken it over the last years. So that again is compulsory. It's on the 26th and the 27th of April, a Friday and Saturday, as well as on Friday, May the 17th. Again, you'll find all those dates on our website if you want to look them up, but really, if you get the grant, we ask you to be there, and it's really compulsory, and it makes part of the program, and you won't regret it, because really all the candidates are overly enthusiastic about the quality of the training and about how much it helps in team building and in creating some added value to the group that sticks through the whole path year and after. In May, we will have a presentation of the companies as well. Every year, we have a lot of companies who are interested in our PAP candidates, so we'll organize a speed dating on the 17th. So you have plenty of opportunities to meet with companies that have a project in mind for one of you. And then once you're selected for PAP, you can of course accept one of the projects of the companies that propose projects, but you can certainly go for your own project. And I think that's really part of the nice thing of the Prince Albert Fund, is that you have the opportunity to go and look out for yourself to your own project. As long as it answers our criteria, that was said before, needs to be 1 year, needs to be outside Europe, needs to be for a Belgian company, needs to be a challenging opportunity. The idea is not to do an internship, it's really to own a proper project and make sure you're really growing in your career and learning from it. But if you have a passion for a specific sector, a passion for a country, a passion for an industry, I mean, this is your opportunity to go and get the type of companies or the type of project that you're interested in. And most of the time, when companies see PAF candidates arriving, they really open their doors. We have a good reputation for selecting well, so they're really keen to meet with the candidates, and as well, of course, they're always interested in having a cheaper way of finding quality people. So it's quite easy to convince them to find a project for you if you have a real motivation to work for them. This is just a few of the companies where candidates have been recently. There's many more, of course, but it'll give you a flavor of the different type of companies. We have heavy industry, we have food companies, beer companies, insurance, drinks, whatever, technology. So really no limitations as long as the criteria are met, as I said before. But of course, the company has some obligations, and it's really important that they know that beforehand and make sure that they stick to their engagement. They have to provide you with a challenging project, so not any project will do. That's something that we will discuss when you come up with a project, is make sure that it's really a challenging one and something that you will really grow and learn from. And I think you'll hear from the alumni in the room that it was very often a very challenging project even. They need to provide internal support, of course, make sure that you're not left totally on your own in the middle of nowhere, somewhere at the other side of the world. Sometimes when you start, you leave for a startup, it can be quite challenging because it's small companies, they don't have a large infrastructure, so you will be quite on your own. But still, we want to make sure that they know where you are and that they make sure that you get the instructions that you need to make it a successful project. And then it's not totally free for them, and they have to pay for housing costs, and if you decide to leave to New York or San Francisco, it can be something. In Africa it's much easier, but it really depends on the destination. Provide transportation costs, and of course all mission-related costs that are linked to the assignment that you will have, they have to take in hands as well. So you might wonder what your path status is during the year. You're actually considered, for the Belgian law, you're considered a student. This grant has been accepted by the Belgian government as tax-free because they see this as a way for you to learn and grow your career. So in terms of social security, you have to keep an address in Belgium. Most people get their domicile at their parents so that you keep your social security, and then of course we provide an additional health insurance to make sure you're fully covered during the whole year. And I think that's about it. This is our contact details. If you have any questions or any concerns, you can always reach out to us, but I hope that tonight you'll have most of your questions answered. I suggest we don't do the Q&A now, but we wait to have the testimonials of the alumni, and then when all the alumni will be on stage, you'll be able to address your questions depending on which specific question you have to the person in the room who can answer best. And then, of course, we'll have plenty of opportunity during the drinks to answer your questions. All the alumni have a badge, so you should be able to identify them quite easy. May I ask Maxime to come on stage? Maxime Pexten was in Japan last year. He came back actually last year. He was there for Brussels Beer Project, and he's still with Brussels Beer Project, not in Japan anymore, but he'll tell you all about it.
I would like to start by asking just those two questions. Raise your hands if you like beer. And raise your hand if you like to travel. All right, you're ready for the path. No, actually, beer it's an important part, you will see, of the training. It's also an important part during our path alumni gatherings. We'll go through that in a little bit. And travel goes without saying, path. I mean, you'll have this unique opportunity to go abroad, to discover a new culture, new country, and lots of different adventures. Beer and travel were always a bit my kind of two passions, and I've kind of at some point I've asked myself, how can I be able to bridge those two passions? And the answer came quite naturally. It was to actually go abroad with a beer company and start a project abroad. But before we go into the details of how and what I did in Japan and Tokyo for Brussels Beer Project, let me give you a bit of background. So, I'm just going to go there rapidly, just give you the picture. I was fortunate enough to grow up in 8 different countries when I was a kid. I've studied business engineering here in Brussels at ISHEC, and finally did a Master in Finance at Lyon, which is a French École de Commerce. The reason for that was because at that time I was a bit tired of waking up every morning to go to classes, and I wanted a more practical experience, and Lyon was able to give me this opportunity by completing 2 internships of 6 months. The first one was in Paris for an investment bank, and the second one was for an NGO acted in Jordan. Finally, let's say it's just the beginning, I started my career as a consultant here in Brussels for Deloitte. I don't know if you've heard about Deloitte. I guess many of you did. Maybe, probably some of you are working for Deloitte here in this room. I joined as a consultant in FT and worked there for 2 years. Now, the question was, what made me decide to apply for the BAF? Well, at some point working for Deloitte, I was of course very happy. The work was quite challenging, so the colleagues were all very professional, but I kind of lacked a purpose, or I was questioning myself, what am I really doing here? And at some point days were getting a bit similar, and a kind of a monotony came up, and I felt like I needed a new challenge. And it's quite fortunate. One of my good friends was applying for the BAF, and he told me, Max, you have to apply as well. It's a project where they can go abroad, and the thing that I really liked is that you don't have to present a project yourself. They're quite open. As long as you have an entrepreneur mindset, you can apply for the BAF and then decide on the project you want to build. And this is something that really attracted me. I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I had 2 years of work experience at Deloitte, but I still had a lot of questions. And this was unique, a very good opportunity to kind of, bounce to another field and have this a new kick, a new challenge in my life. So the project, you'll see, there's also beautiful pictures of me in the book, which is quite funny because when you work with Japanese, they tend to take a lot of pictures. I applied for the BAF. I was fortunate to go to the different interviewing processes, and when I got the project, I directly approached Brussels Beer Project, which is a microbrewery located in the city center of Brussels, Rue Antoine-Mansart. Probably many of you know the beers. And I was really attracted by the project. I felt that they had a lot of, let's say, ambition, and there was a lot of value there to actually develop a beer project abroad. So I approached Sébastien and Olivier, the 2 co-founders of the project. We actually had a beer together, and I told them that I had the grant of the Prince Albert Fund, that I was being paid for 1 year, and that I absolutely wanted to launch one of the projects abroad. And we discussed, and of course we established that I would go to Japan, Tokyo. So just to give you again a brief background of the project, the project was organized in 3 phases. The first phase was actually more of a logistics approach on finding an importer, finding a stock, and being able to actually import the beers that were being brewed in Brussels to Japan. And on a second stage to develop the sales. So it was a really, let's say, a hands-on project where I was myself going to different bars, hotels, restaurants, and selling the Brussels Beer Project. It started really small. We had tasting sessions, and at some point, sales really started to build up. And after 4 months, my importer really felt that there was traction, and that Japanese were actually really fan of the Brussels Beer Project brand and actually the beers. And he proposed me to develop or renovate a bar together and transform it into a Brussels Beer Project taproom. So of course I was really excited, and after 4 months we were able to find a place contact the different working teams, and recruit the staff to launch the Brussels Beer Project taproom in Shinjuku. I'll talk briefly about it later. This, after 1 year, when we launched the taproom, this was quite, we were lucky it was quite successful. An investor that was actually based in Paris contacted us and asked us to develop another taproom in Paris, and that's how I ended up. Now today I live in Paris and I opened the second taproom, and I'll give you the news later, but there's other projects in the pipe. The question, was it easy? Absolutely not. It was one of the most difficult experiences in my life. I thought it would be easy, given the fact that I had traveled a lot. I felt like I could completely take up the challenge, but actually the three main difficult or challenging aspects of my PATH project were, first of all, the language. Of course, going to Japan, not speaking Japanese, I was very motivated. I took some Japanese classes before going, when I was based in Tokyo as well, but it was completely more difficult than I expected. I found myself in really funny situations where I had to discuss with the architect to build up the taproom, and we couldn't communicate. He didn't speak English, and my Japanese was really basic, so we finally decided to draw the bar on papers. So, I mean, it resulted in very funny moments, but it was, every day it was kind of a little struggle. The culture as well was kind of difficult. It's an amazing culture, the Japanese culture. You get to learn new ways of doing business. It's completely different from anything I've ever witnessed before, so I would again find myself in business meetings and try to convince my Japanese partner to keep the cold chain for delivering the beers, and instead of telling me no without losing the face, because he didn't have the infrastructure, he was completely trying to go around the answer. So sometimes it's a bit frustrating because things, I like when things go fast, and in Japan things go quite slowly. And the third thing, it's kind of a personal thing as well. The third challenge I found is the solitude. It's true that I chose a project where I had to build up the project from scratch. So that's what I wanted. I knew what I was getting into. However, some of the projects you find yourself surrounded by a team that's already abroad, and there at some point I felt that every day build up the project by myself was quite challenging, especially that at that time I broke up with my girlfriend, so it was also kind of a difficult moment. However, it's part of the project, it's part of the experience as well, and I was very lucky that my two co-founders for Brussels Beer Project were behind me the whole project. So in the end, those challenges were, of course, a good experience. It was difficult, but was it worth it? Yes, of course it was worth it. I was able to join a project that is very dynamic, that is very appealing. I'm still today at the Brussels Beer Project. We continue on developing projects together. I feel really part of a team. I've integrated a very young and dynamic team, and I'm happy that I've done the switch. I started a project from scratch. This is something that I really wanted to experience. I felt like I didn't want to start my company just yet, but I wanted to have an entrepreneurship, let's say, experience. And the path is exactly this. It gives you this entrepreneurship experience without taking the risk yourself of starting your own company with your own economies. You're backed up by the path, by a team of alumni, a team of professionals, and by a company. So you're pretty well surrounded. I learned a new language. I think today my Japanese must be close to zero, but however, it was still a good experience. Learning languages is always something fun, and it's something that I will always enjoy. So that was a good thing. develop marketing skills. Yeah, I mean, at some point when you work as a young professional, you get more and more, how can I say, specialized in the field. And where I was more into finance, I was able to switch to a more marketing and project development role, which is something that is great, I think. I joined an amazing community. This one is really important. The PATH project is not just a one-year project abroad. You also have to consider it as a stepping stone. Why a stepping stone is because it allows you, like I did, to switch from a specific field to another, but it also helps you to build on your contacts, your network. The PATH alumni is a very strong alumni community where at least we try to do very regular events, if not 2 per year, at least I attend. But it's a strong community. We always keep touch. We call each other from time to time, and it's really important because you have people that have had more experience than you, a couple of years ahead of you, and that can really, help you through the whole project. If you have questions on your career, on difficult choices you have to make, they will be there for you, and it's something that is really valuable, at least for me. Still learning and growing every day. I mean, it's an easy thing to say, of course. The PATH puts you in this discomfort mode where you have, you find yourself in a new country, in a new culture, and I kind of kept that mentality where, not choosing the easy way, but try to really challenge myself every day and build on new projects. I was able to live in Tokyo for 1 year. I've been now in Paris for 1 year as well. We continue to having projects. If some of you are interested, of course, we can talk about it at the end during the drink. And who knows where I will be in next year or even in 6 months. But somehow that's what I wanted, and that's what I like to do, is the uncertainty and the adventure. Voilà.
Thank you, Maxime. When Paphos get enthusiastic, they really are. He was supposed to talk 5 minutes, it was 15. No worries, it was nice to hear your enthusiasm. And now we'll have the chance to have Pauline telling her about her experience. Pauline van der Hecken was in Peru 2 years ago for Stevia One, and she'll tell you more about it right now.
Hello everybody. Very excited to see all these excited people to join the PATH as well. A bit about myself. I'm a lawyer. I studied law and I worked 2.5 years as legal counsel for a pharmaceutical company. And I had some experience, actually worked for an NGO in Africa. So I was in Peru in 2016 and I worked for the company Stevia One. I'll first explain a bit more about the company itself. So, Stevia One is a company, actually it was part of the Group Durables before, but now it's a separate company. Maybe you know Group Durables. So actually, Stevia One has its own plantations in Peru, at the coast, in the north, and plantations as well in the jungle, which are rainforest land certified. And they have built their own manufacturing plant in the north of Peru as well to extract the stevia. So it's a 100% vertically integrated company. Here you can see as well where it's located, the plantations and the factories in the north as well. It's a very interesting company, I think, because they want to reduce the sugar amount in the world. So it's a huge challenge, and they have a unique selling proposition because you can't just replace the sugar with stevia because you won't have the same effect. Stevia has a different texture and has a different mouthfeel. So Stevia One is a company that is really trying to add value and not only sell the stevia but also the natural solutions to truly replace 100% sugar by stevia. And as you can see, every month you can collect the stevia, and in other farms, for example, in China, it's only 4 times a year, and in Peru, it's every year. And so you can see here the objectives by 2020, they want to have 800 tons of final product and 850 hectares of land. And just to explain you, it has just to go back, a unique extraction process. You can obtain stevia through many ways, through fermentation, through alcohol, through chemical, by adding chemicals, but actually Stevia One is doing it on a very unique model. They're actually harvesting the leaf, drying it in the sun or in the oven, and then it's actually just like tea. They drop it in the water, and this water will be purified through a lot of columns, and then they will have the sweetener. So it's a 100% natural product, and it brings an added value for our entire consumption. Yeah, here's some pictures of me in the fields. I wasn't in the field every day, obviously. I had a desk job, but it's just, you have a feeling with the product. It's a very tangible product, and there you can see the workers, which are very well surrounded with this reinforced line. So it's really a very clean procedure. A bit more about my PATH project. I worked in the commercial team, so I participated in the commercial launch of Stevia One. Because I forgot to mention that actually the plant is operational since 2 months. So the company exists already 6 years, but they're only selling since 2 months. So I was in the preparation of this commercial launch plan. And my main role was actually making sure that Stevia One was an approved supplier for all these companies. And my main task was actually collecting the needs of the strategic partners, and then define an implementation plan in order to implement these needs. What are these needs? For example, the commercial needs, which certification has to be put in place, the product has to be halal, kosher, reinforced lines, global gap, etc. Also logistics, the clients do want to have stevia packed in aluminium bags, in carton bags, carton boxes, 20 kilo bags, 10 kilo bags, it's all little details, but you just have to make sure that the company could supply as per client's requirements. Also on quality, what kind of quality tests do we need to implement in order to attain the clients? Through what methods? Obviously I'm not a technical person, but it's more like coordinating these requirements and checking with all the different departments how to implement them. On the side, as I have a legal background, I implemented as well some templates of supply and distribution agreements. And then we did some training activities as well. So how do you export stevia into Europe? What kind of regulations do you need? What is the maximum dosage of stevia in bakery, in beverage? It's all very, very complicated, so it needs a bit of research as well. So as you can see, it's a very general job description, and I didn't sign for this, obviously, because it was a bit of a start of the company, so you have to be flexible, proactive, don't be afraid when, because actually, for a little detail, the first day I arrived at the company, they said, well, yeah, actually, you were supposed to implement a new stakeholder in the company, but that won't go through, so we'll give you another project. So you just have to be very open and, yeah, how to say it in the Netherlands, roeien met de riemen die je hebt. So once you're there, you just have to be open-minded, think, how can I be useful, how can I add value, and I think that's a very important mindset. Also, it wasn't so easy because my Spanish was not that good initially, and in the company only 2 people speak English, so you have to learn. In 2 months' time, I had an intensive course because I knew I had to be up and running as soon as possible. And this kind of project, you won't have it after 3 months. It's something that you really need to work every day very hard, connect with people, grab information, and that's the attitude I think you should have in order to have a successful project. I just wanted to say that on a professional level, it learned me a lot because I did get out of my legal bubble. And now I know I really like to be in a commercial position, in the sourcing side especially. But it's mostly on a personal level that I learned the most, because you get to learn yourself a lot better. What do I like in life? What do I don't like? How do you cope with a situation where you don't have friends or family to help you? So it's really something that you have to be prepared that you'll be there alone, as Max has said as well. It's a position where you don't have the comfort where you can rely on someone else, and you have to just figure it out, but you have the opportunity to travel, to discover a new culture, new language as well, new friends, really good friends, because the PATH network is something that's really, really special. You have this special connection with these people, and it's a lot of fun people as well. So I just want to give you, say all good luck to you. Go grab that sponsorship, but before you apply, be careful and know what you're applying for. Because don't apply if you don't feel this is something for you. It's a great opportunity, but as well do know what risk it does take. But it's something that really, for me, it was a life-changing experience. So good luck to you, everybody.